Okay. Okay.
Okay. A very good afternoon to one and all. Thank you for logging in on time. Today, my sharing is on Jesus' first miracle. But before that, I'm going to give you a description. Let me bring this down. Description of Apostle John, who is the writer of the book of John. He's known as the beloved disciple of Jesus Christ. He has a very, very close personal relationship with Jesus. John and James are brothers, and both of them are also the 12 disciples. Their parents were Zebedee and Salome. And I discovered that Salome was the sister of Mary, mother of Jesus Christ. So meaning which John and Jesus are first cousins. So they are very, very close. And here, the overview on the book of John is also very, very interesting because in chapter 1, it talks about the divinity of Jesus Christ, and Sister Gwen has gone through with us. There's so much written about who is Jesus Christ. From chapter 2 to chapter 12 of the book of John is about his ministry, his public and private ministry. And lastly, chapter 13 to 21, the final chapter of the book of John, talks about Jesus' arrest, his death, and his resurrection. So it covers the whole thing about who is Jesus and his ministry, and again, his death, and the purpose of his life here on earth. Next is, okay, we are talking about, the first one is the verbal testimony of Jesus Christ by the following people here, which is mentioned in the book, in the first chapter, chapter 1 to verse 1 to verse 35. These three group of people has testified who is Jesus Christ. So it gives us an understanding who is he first, okay? Of course, we know that in verse 1 to 18, it says that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And Jesus Christ is God, and he was with God, and he created everything. Through him, all things were made. Without him, nothing was made that has been made. So he's the creator. In him was life, and that life was the light of man. And he is the one who gives us eternal life. And he's the light of the world. And that is the word that has become flesh. And he has come into a human being and dwelt among us. And there we can behold his glory. And there's a whole idea of the life of Jesus. And this is mentioned in the book of John. His glory is manifested. And two, the second group, John the Baptist, who advocated Jesus Christ as the Son of God, the Lamb of God, the Messiah, who took away the sin of the world. And we have learned that John the Baptist prepared the way for Jesus Christ to come into the scene, so that we are prepared to know who is this person that is coming. Somebody has to announce the great person to come. If not, who is going to announce? So John the Baptist is the one who announced, and he's the first preacher of who is Jesus Christ. And followed by the disciples, they also testified who is Jesus Christ. And these 5 disciples are the Old Testament disciples, and they were the follower of John the Baptist. Of course, we have shared by Brother Henry about how Andrew and Simon became the first disciple of Jesus Christ, and followed by Philip, and then Nathanael. These are the people who were the waiting. They were the followers of John the Baptist, and John the Baptist has directed them to follow Jesus Christ, who is the true Messiah. And so they were all waiting for the Messiah as written in the law. So they decided to follow Jesus Christ, the true Messiah. And so this is the verbal testimony of Jesus Christ by this group of people. And now we come to the ministry testimony or the work of Jesus Christ. John 2, chapter 2 to 12 is Jesus' public ministry, which we have just said. 13 to 17, Jesus' private ministry to his apostle in the upper room. And finally, John 18 to 21, it describes Jesus' death, resurrection, and post-resurrection appearances. So it covers the whole picture of who is Jesus and what is his purpose here, to save sinners like you and me. So now we have a very, very clear understanding, and now we are going into today's verse, which is chapter 2, verse 1 to 11. Let's start reading it. On the third day, a wedding took place in Canaan, in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciple had also been invited to the wedding. So it was a party, and all of them were invited. They were all happily going for the party. But why the third day? The third day was mentioned here was from the first and second day, Jesus was gathering the apostles. He met Andrew, Simon, after he was baptized by John the Baptist. He gathered these two, and second day, he gathered Philip and Natalie. And Natalie's home place is also in Canaan. So all of them were going to the party on the third day, after what happened on the first and second day event. So they went to the party. It was supposed to be a happy occasion. Wedding is a very, very happy occasion in a small town because everybody are invited and they are gathered there. But something happened. The wine was gone. Nothing was left. There was lack of beverage at the party gathering. So Jesus' mother said to Jesus, "We have no more wine." She was very, very worried. Maybe because she was in charge of beverage, or she was a very close relative to the bride and the groom. So this is what happened in the scene. And so naturally, Jesus' mother will approach Jesus when there is a problem. Here, there was no mention of Joseph. And according to the commentary, Joseph was dead by that time. He died young. So Mary depends on Jesus when she is confronted with a problem. Here we can see the reply from Jesus. "Woman, why do you involve me?" That was Jesus' reply. "My hour has not yet come." We will come back to this in detail. But before that, I just want to give you a description or an understanding of a Jewish wedding. Okay, before that, this is Canaan, a very, very small village. It's like a housing estate, in a small part of our PJ, a small housing estate, like maybe Taman Desa housing estate. This is a small place, and everybody knows everybody because we go to the same shop, we go to the same market. So everybody knows everybody. This is a small little village called Canaan. And where is it located? Apparently it's located northeast of Nazareth. And Jesus is from Nazareth, and that probably he knows the people around the area. It's according to the commentary, is about 8 to 9 miles away from Nazareth. Okay. And so here is a description of a Jewish wedding. It's normally the groom and the bride, they were engaged for 1 year, is to allow the groom to prepare for the wedding, have to save enough, have to work enough money to buy a land or to build a house for the family. It takes about a year for him to build up his finances. So to make sure that the wedding procession will be a success, will turn out well for all the invited guests. That is their culture. So the wedding procession will take from the guy's house, the groom house, to hers and back to his. Quite similar to our Chinese culture, where the groom will go to the wife, the bride house, and then after that, finally settle in the guy's house. Then it lasts for 7 days. This party will go on for 7 days. Everybody are invited. Some stay overnight. So it's a time of joy and festivity and fun. So wine is very important to that occasion. They must have wine where they can have fun and drink and so forth. And then the couple will consummate on the first night. And it says here, if they don't provide good hospitality, enough food, enough beverages, it's considered a shame to the groom. So this is something that they do not want it to happen. It brings dishonor to the family, a very, very bad reputation if they do not have enough wine for the occasion. So here, let us go back to what it says here. Okay. Before that, so Jesus has said to the mother, "Why do you involve me?" Jesus replied, "My hour has not yet come." According to the commentary, it says that no doubt Jesus is a very obedient son to the mother, because the father died when he was very young, and the mother depended a lot on him. But here is the moment that Jesus is trying to indicate to the mother that the mother and son relationship is now over. In a sense, I'm not being very, very discourteous to you, but I need to tell you that I am now have to do my father business. And it says here, the reply is, "My hour has not yet come." Well, he's supposed to pray to his father what he should do next when such a situation arises. Woman is to address to Mary, is to tell that our relationship is no longer mother and son relationship, and now I have to do my father business, and I have to depend on my father. What I need to do now. He has to do the will and the purposes of his father at this point of time. Okay, what again? Here we need to see that. So, and his mother knew quite well that this is the time that the son has to start to do his ministry. It has sort of reminded him the time when Jesus was 12 years old. He was at the temple and he said to the officials there that he has to do his father business. So Mother Mary remembered that, and so he obediently agreed and just told the servant, "Do whatever he tells you." She knew at that time that Jesus has to start his ministry. Okay, verse 6. Nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing. each holding from 20 to 30 gallons. Very, very big jar. And because they use it for purification, the Jews, they emphasize on purification. They have a lot of laws on that. Everything needs to be clean for ceremonial washing. So the jar of water was meant for purification. So Jesus said to the servant, after probably Jesus may have prayed to his Father and know what to do next. He told the servant, fill the jars with water. Obediently, they did so. They filled them to the brim. Next, he told them, now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet. They again did it obediently. So what it says here, when Jesus asks us to do something, we have to do it obediently and do it to the very best. Fill the jar to the brim, not halfway, not half full, but right to the brim. Do it completely when we are told to do something for the Lord. So this is something that we learn from this verse. And what happened, this is the kind of stone jars that were used at that time, huge ones. And this is what happened. Jesus told the servant to fill the jar to the brim. Water was full. Water was filled up in the 6 pot or 6 jar of the 6 jars. And next, verse 9. The servant drew the water from the jar and offered it to the master of the banquet. And the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. Of course, the master of the banquet didn't know that it was originally water. They thought it was just wine. He didn't realize where it has come from, though the servant who has drawn the water knew. Then he called the bridegroom aside and said, everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine, after the guests have had too much to drink, but you have saved the best till now. So here, what do we learn from this verse 9 to 11? According to the commentary, it says here that we do not know when Jesus actually transformed the water into wine, at which point of time. Was it at the time when the servant was filling up the jar, or when it was being served to the master of banquet? Nobody knows. But what is surprising is that this is indeed a miracle, because no one else can do that. Even if you want to make wine, you need to go through a lot of processes. You need to have grapes, you need to ferment it, you need to compress it, and so forth and so forth. But this was instantaneously. Immediately it was turned into wine. It tells us that only God can do it and no one else. And why is it that it is the best out of all the wine? That whatever God gives to us, he gives us the best, and it's right at the end. So it says that when Jesus, it says here, the commentary said, when you became to know Jesus, the best is when you see him face to face, and that's when the end of it. when you enter the closest fellowship with him, that you can say is the best moment of your time. And you can say that's the best wine that has been kept until now, when you see Jesus face to face at the end of our life. Okay, I want to say that this is one of the miracles that Jesus did. But there are more and more miracles that we have seen. Okay, and let us come into that. There are 8 signs pointed to Jesus' deity. The first one, we saw that changing water into wine. John 2, verse 1 to 11. And Jesus also healed the royal official's son in Covenant. John 4, 48 to 54. Healing the paralytic at Bethesda. John 5, 1 to 18. Feeding the 5,000, John 6, 5 to the 14, and Jesus walked on water, John 6, 14 to 24. Healing the man, the blind man, the man born blind, John 9, verse 1 to 7, and raising of Lazarus, the person who is dead and is alive, John 11, 1 to 45. And Jesus created breakfast for the disciple, John 21, 12 to 13. All this was written and recorded in the Bible by John to show to us, to point, to let us know, to inform us, to emphasize who is Jesus. Indeed, Jesus is God. And there are more which was not recorded. And I like to read this one, John 21, 25. It says that, let us turn to that. John, chapter 21, verse 25, something that I have picked it up and I find it very interesting. Jesus did many other things as well, many miracles. If every one of them were written down, I suppose that even the whole world would not have room for the books that would be written. So Jesus has done many miracles during his lifetime and during his ministry. And only these 8 ones were recorded that John has put it in the Bible for us. So you can't help but to have to believe that Jesus is God. And where in the world, which God that we know that can do such a miracle, there's such miracles that is seen even by man at that time. So finally, I like to go to my last slide, take home point. The beginning of sign in the Gospel of John is a miracle of conversion. He transformed water into wine instantaneously, immediately. No need to go through processes. No need to say a word. No need to use a special miraculous word to say. Just instantly, without people knowing it. From the old ways of law, ceremony, and purification to the new life of Jesus. So now we have a new life in Jesus compared to the Old Testament, which is full of law, ceremony, and purification. Moses turned water into blood, showing that the law results in death. In the book of Exodus 7, 17 to 21. But Jesus' first miracle turned water into wine, showing gladness and joy of his new work. John 1, 17 says, for the law was given through Moses, but grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. Water is like a relationship with God under the old covenant, but wine is a relationship with God under the new covenant. Jesus is indeed has turned a predicament when there is no wine into an unexpected joy. And the last one is, with Jesus, I think our life is made all beautiful and meaningful. And finally, the next one, and the last one here, Jesus is indeed, okay, this is what I've said here. Having Jesus in our life makes it all beautiful and meaningful. So it's my sharing for today that Jesus is indeed God. He has shown his glory over and over again in the book of John. Okay, thank you. Back over to you.